Hey friends, my name is Jake. Welcome to the 6th year of Canadian Cutting Edge. If you didn't see, I did an anniversary video just prior. It'll be linked at the very end of this. Is the end of the video that way or this way? At the end. At the end there'll be a link to that video if you haven't seen it yet. And we're taking a look at a Sanrenmu again. Sanrenmu knives are awesome. I've reviewed, it's getting close to 150 of them, I think. Well over 100 anyways. And their 7000 series knives are the ones that I am super enamored with. On the Sanrenmu knives, the first digit talks about the length of the blade in metric centimeters. So the 7000 series knives have blades that are about 7 centimeters long. 7 centimeters is just a hair over 2.5 inches for my American friends. And this is the first knife that I reviewed just over 5 years ago. This is the 7063. It comes in an axis lock or a liner lock version, anodized aluminum handle, and a nice hollow grind blade that functions very, very well. Do you guys want me to make another review of that knife? Let me know in the comments below, because it's been quite a while, and I just bought this new one a little while ago, and it was in an unboxing. But today, we've got another 7000 series knife. This is a slip joint, and it's one of their new designs. It's sort of a Nesmuk style blade, full flat grind, G10 handle scale in 4 colors. We've got this blue, we've got a yellow, we've got a sort of a fuchsia pink, and we've got carbon fiber laminate on G10. And they're nice 3D milled on the edges. Most of it's flat. And it's a nice slip joint with a 2/3 stop, something like that you want to call it. And it's got their funky new ambi pocket clip. It's an either side pocket clip. Really cool knife. I am a slip joint fan. I grew up with slip joint knives, and I find them to be extremely safe to use because I learned how to use them properly. If you are interested in a very light knife that is legal almost everywhere in the world, I can't imagine a place where it's not legal, two-hand opening under 3 inches, like right around 7 centimeters. What's not to like about this thing? I'm sure somebody's going to find something, but I'll tell you what, I found very little wrong with this knife, and it's super budget friendly. So stick around. Let's get to the tabletop and take a good close look at the 7315 from Sanrenmu Knives. So there she is. Well, not quite in all her beauty. There's some fingerprints on there. Before we get into the details of this, close-up of that 7063, the liner lock version has tip up or tip down pocket clip. Otherwise, these are all tip up. And stainless steel liners. And yeah, it's quite a nice knife. Inset lanyard option there. It's quite a nice knife. Time for a size comparison. We've got our traditional wrap 1. Yeah, no, that doesn't really count. It's just way, let's lift it up just a little bit here. See, that it's way too small of a knife compared to that. Let's do a size comparison then. I'm just holding the camera with one hand here, sorry. This is the FH921 by Ganzo, a little bit smaller than the Rat. And it's starting to get a little bit closer to that size. But this is not a large knife. It's a small knife that is very user-friendly. We've got lightweight. We've got a back spring that goes all the way to the end. So this is one piece of steel that goes all the way along, and it acts like the back spring, like a traditional slip joint knife. And so then there's a flat spot there. And you can see it sticking out just a little bit. And when it's closed, it's all flush at the back, and it's holding it in the closed position. If you try to open the knife, it wants to stay closed. So it's a safe knife in your pocket. When you get past a certain point, then, of course, it's going to stay open. We've got G10, like I said, it's smooth. You can see how it's chamfered across the spine here. It's chamfered on the belly side as well, chamfered on the leading edge there. We've got anodized collars, and then your pivot screw. It's a D-shaped pivot screw, so it's not free spinning. And if you're looking at this side, I got the pocket clip on the left side right now. But if you're looking on this side, the screws are smooth surface, so it's a nice show side on the knife. And then this side's got the screws T8, T6, T6. And these are nice custom screws. They're not like the typical button screws that everybody and their dog uses on their knives. This is more like what Civivi does on their knives. These guys have been doing really good stuff for a long time. Of course, their older stuff, has the button screws, but they're modernizing their knives an awful lot. This knife just came out in 2020. Let's talk about the blade shape. Like I said, it's a little bit like a Nesmuk, I should say, style blade. Yeah, so it's a little bit upswept, and then it comes down. If you're just looking at that part of the blade there, it's very much spear point shaped, which is quite nice. A little swedge coming to a point. It's decent for piercing stuff. Of course, you got to be very careful when you're piercing into things that you're constantly putting pressure back towards the spine of the blade. If you put a little pressure this way, you're going to start to close the knife. And that's the main thing. I try to tell people, even if you're using a knife that has a lock, don't put pressure on the spine of the blade, because locks can fail. It's very uncommon that liner locks, that frame locks, that axis locks, that all these other kinds of locks that are out there, that they fail, but they can. Something breaks somewhere and a knife blade can move. So keep the pressure that way. And so it's good enough for doing some cutting like this, slicing things open, doing a little delicate work, cutting through an apple, what have you. You've got belly all the way along this blade, and then you've got a sharpener's choil right here. The sharpener's choil is excellent, very well made in there. The surface of the blade, it looks like a bead blasted surface, which I don't prefer that awful much, but I don't really hate it or anything. The writing on the knife, Sanrenmu likes to put lots of writing on their knives. Thankfully, it's fairly small. You've got their characters right here, their Chinese characters for Sanrenmu, and then they've got their R in the circle, that's their logo. And this is designed for the Asian market, which is why they've got the Asian characters on there. They're modern Sanrenmu knives for the North American or Western or English-speaking market. They now have SRM knives, Sanrenmu, SRM. They put their date on every knife. Here's the other side. There's the model, 7315-GI, that's for the blue. Sandvik 12C27 steel. You can tell exactly when the knife was made if you have the key to knowing what that first symbol is, and then the numbers is the month. So this was made in the 10th month of 2020. Quite nice. I like it. Going back to the handle now, I've talked about most of it. There's the lanyard hole here. Well, it's not a hole. It's sort of like a cutout area with a pin. So the lanyard option is quite nice. And finally, the piece de resistance for these knives is the option here for the pocket clip. They call this their ambi lock. And we first saw this on an SRM knife. Let me see if I still got it. Of course I don't have it. I'm talking about the 7228 SRM knife. I had the yellow one. Awesome knife that I really, really like. But, of course, I had to sell it. But it's got this same pocket clip. The way it works is it's got two basic wires up here, and you squeeze it and give it a bit of a wiggle, and you take it out. There's two little teeth on the edges here that stop it from getting pulled out. If you push on it, it just is caught. But all you have to do is squeeze it a little bit, and it comes out. This is a surprisingly durable pocket clip. It works very, very well. The anodization has not chipped on it anywhere. It's rubbed a little bit here because I put it in and out probably 30 times. I just wanted to see if it would start failing quickly. Most guys will not be changing it that often. That's why I tested it about 30, 40 times to make sure that it doesn't fail quickly. You know, it's one piece of steel. It's a stainless steel anodized. They're all this blue color, except for if you get the carbon fiber laminate version, then you just get a stainless steel pocket clip, just like it was on the 7228. So, yeah, I wish they'd give you the option of choosing which pocket clip you want, but yeah, you gotta get the anodized. It matches with the, pivot collar, so it's at least got a reference back. To put it back in, you just line up with that hole. Just a tiny bit of a squeeze as you push it in, and it clicks, and it's in place. It has no play back and forth, side to side when it's in there. It's just nice. If you push it on the tip here back and forth, there's a little bit of wiggle, which makes sense. You can do the same thing with the Spyderco wire clip sometimes. If you grab it right by the end, it's got a little bit of flex because that's the nature of wires. The other thing is, it's a deep clip. Pair of jeans and a pocket. You put it in. Oh, that's the coin pocket. It fits into the coin pocket on these pants. And it just sinks right down to the bottom. Let's take it apart and show you the insides. Now, this is my first time taking it apart, and that's why it's still a little bit dirty. There's these screws. There's no Loctite on any of them. I had no problem getting them apart. There's the collar for it, which is nicely anodized. And you can see here, there's a D-shaped pivot pin. And there's the phosphor bronze washers. They tend to have two washers. Sanrenmu usually has two washers on each side. And this is no exception. There's the one, and the other one is just underneath it. These washers are very thin, and they have got little holes in them. These are no fun to put back together, but I'll give it a shot. What I need to do is push up on that pin on the lock arm or the slip joint arm, while I have to have this pin low out just there. And then once I get it lined up, then I push that up real quick. So it can be a bit of a game to get it back together again. Actually, I'm going to clean everything first before I try to put it together. Now all I have to do is take the tape back off, and we can get on with the rest of the video. All right, not bad, eh? So now let's go to the sizes, dimensions, and all that stuff. This will be on the screen for that when I'm done. I'll remove this for those that want a visual clue to going through this stuff. The weight of this knife, 44 grams, 1.55 ounces. Yes, it's a light knife, like I told you. The sharpness from the edge, it's 105 best. That's very sharp. That's sharper than most of the knives that I review. By the way, Sandvik 12C27 usually has a Rockwell hardness of around 58, making it pretty good to sharpen. Doesn't lose its edge very quickly, but isn't too terribly hard to sharpen. It's actually a very good budget steel, in my opinion. We've got the cutting edge length, 67.9 millimeters, 2.67 inches. The blade length, tip to the G10, 72.9 millimeters, 2.87 inches. The blade thickness is 2.43 millimeters, which is 0.095 inches, so basically a tenth of an inch. The blade depth, so within the cutting area, the widest point from spine to the cutting edge, 22 millimeters, 0.87 inches. The thickness of the edge behind the grind, it's about 0.36 millimeters, 14 thousandths of an inch. Did I tell you it cuts well? It really cuts well. The grind angles. This is the one con on this knife. It wasn't sharpened terribly well in the terms of grind angles. On the left side, it's fairly steep, and as they cut across or sharpened across, it's shallower here. And then when they turned it over and did the other side, the same thing, steep here, shallow here. So we've got 18.9 degrees, and then it ended at 14.3 degrees. On this side, it started at, here at the heel, 19.1 degrees and ended at 16.5. So not that great. For a slip joint knife like this, for just EDC, easy use, I'd probably sharpen this to 18 degrees per side. If this was a locking knife and I was going to use it for some really hard stuff, I might do 20 degrees per side for this stuff. But it does very well with what it is. Now for the handle length, not counting the pocket clip, 93.3 millimeters, 3.67 inches. The grip area in here, it's right around 9 centimeters, about 3.5 inches. The handle thickness, not counting the pivot pins which stick out a bit, or the pocket clip or anything, just the surfaces of the G10, 7.7 millimeters, 3.03 inches. The handle depth, it's widest right back here within the grip area, 20.3 millimeters, that's 0.8 inches. Well, it was 0.799, but I rounded it to 0.8. And when the knife is closed, it's right about here, 29.8 millimeters, 1.17 inches. And the blade length tipped to the very end, this time including the pocket clip, so you get the very length, 167.8 millimeters, 6.61 inches. So that's not bad at all. Very good proportions on it. The balance point, I didn't do that before, is right there. So quite good. I wouldn't mind if the balance point was right over the pivot pins, but not bad at all. Very comfortable to use. This is not a heavy-duty knife, but it certainly is a knife that can do an awful lot of good stuff. I like it very, very much. The only cons are, the sharpening angle. Other than that, you might say, it's not a good knife for such and such a task. Well, granted, every knife has its certain purposes. As a slip joint, for the kinds of uses that you generally use with a light slip joint, this knife is done very, very well. G10 is a good material. It's good and strong. The back spring here is well made. Everything's nicely rounded. The only sharp things is the edge and the tip. It's lightweight, discreet. It goes in and out of a pocket well. It's got some cool technology with that clip. It's got good high-end hardware with these screws. I like this knife and I like it a lot. How much does it cost? Well, I showed it on the introduction. I didn't say it on the introduction, but on the screen it was on the introduction. This knife is only available right now on AliExpress. That's the only place I found it. $23.10. Another store on AliExpress has it for $23.90. That's American. Unfortunately, none of those stores on AliExpress ship to Canada. Even though slip joints would be totally legal and you would get it no problem, the stores have stopped shipping to Canada because Canadian Customs would confiscate a lot of knives that come in from AliExpress, and so the stores just decided to stop shipping to Canada altogether. My final thoughts, I like this knife and I like it a lot. It could be better, maybe a stonewash. Maybe they could make a high-end version of this, a nice, hardwood and 14C28N, or maybe even M390 or something like that. This style is very, very well done. Put on a titanium clip, titanium hardware, high-end blade, nice wood. I can see this being a very high-end gentleman's folder. And then the design also works for a budget folder for just the average Joe, which tends to be the people that watch this channel. So thank you so much for watching my video. Thank you for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And remember, friends, cut towards your chum, not your thumb. Bye for now.